I'm reading a headline right now that says fossil fuel divestment may cost endowments. When I first saw that headline, it was all Greek to me. I'm like, how does this affect me? What does this mean? Well, fossil fuel, no idea. So we decided to get the expert on the line to talk about that. Todd Kendall is an economist and senior vice president with Compass Lexecon. Now, a new report released June 1st demonstrates that campus efforts to divest from fossil fuels backfires and, in fact, costs the institutions an enormous amount of money. Todd, this sounds really confusing. Now, we're talking about campuses and fossil fuels. How do the two connect? How do they relate here?
Yeah, right. I know it's a mouthful, but fossil fuel divestment basically is the idea that has become somewhat popular on certain college campuses lately that you can somehow solve the world's climate change problems by selling off certain stocks from your investment portfolio or from a university's endowment. And so our study looked at this question and looked at the costs that universities or anybody really incurs in attempting to do this divestment activity, and we found that there's basically no benefits, but there are real substantial costs.
So when this university decides that they're going to, get rid of their investments in fossil fuels, obviously they're doing it because they're going green and trying to, save the planet, and nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not slamming that, but what does that mean for the students of that university or that college when the campus is doing this?
That's right. Any of your listeners who have their own investment portfolios know that buying and selling stocks involves fees and expenses of various kinds. And for colleges and universities, the same is true. And we found that these fees really add up over time. Over a 20-year period, they can eat away up to 12% of a college's or university's endowment portfolio. And so for a lot of colleges and universities that have endowments of millions or billions of dollars, these expenses and fees can be millions and billions of dollars, and that's money that is lost that could have gone to student scholarships, research, technology, and that money has to be replaced somehow. And it could be in the form of lost student services, could be in the form of higher tuition, all sorts of unpleasant, unintended consequences.
Have we seen schools already, in their portfolios, their investments, already walking away from the fossil fuels that have caused damage to the education system within the college?
I think a lot of colleges and universities have looked really hard at this question of divestment, and for the most part, they have come to conclusions very similar to what we found in our study, which is that if you actually want to do it, as good as it might sound, it's really, really costly, and the benefits are minimal to nil. And so ultimately, most of these colleges and universities have chosen not to do it.
Bloomberg magazine causes this empty gestures. To me, that sounds like an insult when you say that is an empty gesture, like if you were to say, I'm sorry for something you did and you really don't mean it. To me, that's an empty gesture. Can you expand on that, what Bloomberg was talking about?
What I think it really is it's sort of the equivalent of slapping a bumper sticker on the back of your car. It might feel really good to put your opinion out there, but ultimately, the bumper sticker never convinced anybody, doesn't change anything. And fossil fuel divestment is the same way. It may feel good to say you sold off some certain stocks, but ultimately it doesn't change what these companies do. It doesn't make the world any greener. And in this case, it's a really expensive bumper sticker.
Now, recently, University of Massachusetts announced it was divesting its direct investments from fossil fuel investments, and they were talking about losing maybe millions, if not billions of dollars. Do you know if any of the colleges or universities in the state of Florida are looking into this? Because we got a lot of kids that are just graduating from high school and getting ready to go into college, and this could have an effect on them.
Yeah, as far as I know, the universities and colleges in Florida have not chosen to divest to date. But I think the important thing to recognize about this Massachusetts case is that what they're doing is really not divestment. They're divesting only, if you read the fine print, they're really only divesting their so-called direct investments. So most of their investments are in mutual funds and other sorts of funds that may hold oil and gas assets within them. And they're choosing not to sell off those because that would be expensive. They're only selling off a very small amount of their portfolio that that really has even more of a symbolic effect than even a full divestment would be. So I think it's important, even in these cases where somebody does choose to divest, to really read the fine print and see what they're doing.
So what you're telling me is UMass is kind of out there pounding their chest saying, hey, we're going green, we're getting rid of our investments into fossil fuels, when in reality they're not.
That's absolutely right.
Okay. Is there a website, Todd, we can go to get more information about this? Because, well, I think people have a lot to learn about fossil fuel divestment and what it's going to mean to endowments at universities and colleges.
Yeah, it's really an important issue, and all the data and analyses that we did in the study can be found at divestmentfacts.com as well as elsewhere on the internet. So your listeners can go there and read the study.
All right, and I know we just got about 60 seconds left with you, Todd. If there was any important message that we need our audience to hear that we didn't discuss during this short interview, what would that message be, sir?
I think the bottom line really is that fossil fuel divestment, selling off stocks is like selling your house. It doesn't change the house. It doesn't make the house any better. It just changes who lives in the house. Selling off stocks doesn't change the companies. It just changes who owns the companies.